Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 2023 update on the Portugal D7 visa. Who better to have with us than Cristina Amaral from EI? And also here tonight, Beatrice. So good evening to you and welcome, Cristina. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much. How are you all doing?
We're doing pretty good. It's really nice that it's still light in the evening, and it's a beautiful. It's been a beautiful spring day here on the Silver Coast of Portugal. How's the capital been?
Oh, sunny as always.
Right, through the window of the very busy office there. I hope you managed a short lunch today. Beatrice, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Thank you so much. And you?
Very good, very good. Excellent to see you. So as you can see here, we have Cristina and Beatrice with us to talk about the D7. And I think we should perhaps begin with Cristina. Or should we begin with Beatrice, I think, because we've got a little bit of office noise in the background there still, Cristina.
Yeah,
go inside, ladies.
I'm in another room, so it's not a problem.
All right.
Yeah, start with her.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's start with Cristina then. If you could mute up for a moment, Cristina. Sorry, and we'll start with Beatrice. Beatrice, I think it's really a good idea to start with CEF. I know we've talked about them in the last couple of weeks, and April the 1st, of course, was the launch and the transition into APMA. In the last week or two since we spoke, has anything changed? Are you aware of any changes that you can delight people with this evening?
Anything that has been changed. So not a lot. Like I said last Thursday, I believe, we are going through some changes. So for 6 months, there are going to be a transition from CEF to another structure. But it is only predicted that everything is changing only in 2025. So we still have a lot to cover from now and then.
Okay, so a nice leisurely transition.
It is. Like everything in Portugal, we like to do everything calm and steady flow. So yeah.
Okay, so 2025 is when we'll really see the APMA label or badges on the door, presumably, and it'll really be obvious. So in the meantime, is it business as usual?
It is.
Okay.
It is politicals all over the place, like always, but that is why we are here, to help you through all of these phases.
Well, yes, well said, well said. Strike action, there was a threat of that as well in the last few weeks. Any strike action going on with CEF employees or consulate staff anywhere around the world?
Only last week, 2 days for CEF, the Portuguese embassies, from what I'm seeing, Rome is the only one that is doing a strike.
Okay.
Besides that, no strikes.
What a relief. What a relief. That's great. Okay. Anything else you want to say about CEF? Any more appointments becoming available? Any hotspots? Anything that we should know about?
Cristina, go ahead to share the
Well, the thing is,
you'll
probably start to see the rebranding within this 6 months, but nothing will actually change. So major changes to the processes. Things like making residency permit processes easier and more streamlined only by 2025. Okay. So for now, they are focusing on who will control the borders, and that's pretty much it. So within those 6 months, that's what they're doing. They will be teaching the standard police officers from PSP here in Portugal to operate and navigate the border. Everything else, they hope to implement a simpler system, but the deadline for that is 2025, which means that in the meantime, the chaos that we are living in regarding appointments with the SCF will be exactly the same. I don't know if you heard of this new nuisance. I don't know if nuisance will be the best term to use. That is happening, which is before you requested a visa and then you had an appointment like 6 months away. Mm-hmm. Then they started getting their things together and started to book appointments within those 4 months of the visa, even if it was for a couple, one for Faro and the other for Vila Real, or Viana do Castelo, whatever. Now they are getting that together, and on the same day, thank God, same location, good. But sometimes you'll have your visa issued to find out that your SCF appointment already happened.
Yes, I've heard of this, yeah.
And so, yeah, this kind of thing, I was hoping that it was going away sooner rather than later, that everything was about to go and change.
Yeah.
It's not. So Good news on that part, only by 2025, which
Okay.
is a nuisance because that is the most important part of it all. Like getting a
Course.
visa is very, very important. But with this change, if they are just going to change people and not change the procedure itself,
Yes.
it will only be due to eventually more and more mistakes at the SCF being made while attending people. So you'll have new people that don't really know what they're doing. You
Yeah,
might
this
start
is a
to
really good point,
see,
Christina. This is an excellent
yeah,
point because people might imagine, and you could forgive them for doing so, that the reorganization is about making the system more efficient. It's not necessarily, that's not the primary focus, is it? The primary focus is to bring new personnel into the organization. And perhaps the efficiency will be looked at after those new staff have been embedded and trained. And of course, in any organization, reorganization, there is a little bit of a hiccup sometimes, isn't there, in training new staff and people finding their feet. So there may be that a little hump to address as well. And that's why you need the help of EI, Gilda and team at EI Assessoria Migratoria, and we have the best of them this evening, Christina and Beatrice with us tonight. And Gilda, I understand, will be joining us for the Dream Team session. Let's say a few hellos and then come back to that 4-month, 6-month, 2-year, 3-year timeline thing. A lot of people, I think, are already in progress here. But for those who are brand new to this, let's find out how the D7 works after we've said hello to Alison and Michael in Texas. Fantastic. Julie's here, New York City. Louisiana in the house. That's Jen. Nunu's here. The reassuring presence of Nunu Amensh is here as well. Miguel is with us. Maryland. A couple of people, I think, from Maryland. Canada. Also well represented. Hi, Marcia. 90 degrees in Manhattan at the moment. Wow. Allah from, I think, a contented James in Estoril. The other side of the process. Hi, James. Great to have you here. And good evening from sunnier Glasgow. Not sunnier than Portugal, I don't think, but sunnier than it's probably been recently. Hey, Derek and Linda. Jose is here as well. Georgia in the USA. So thank you, everybody, for shouting out, saying where you are. The questions are coming in. Do put them into the chat, and I'll make sure after we've looked at the D7 in principle and how it works that we get round to asking your questions of Christina and Beatrice as well. So the theory of the D7, it has changed a little bit since we've been talking in these last 2 or 3 years, hasn't it, Christina? Can we go through the timeline, the process, what people can expect? What is the D7?
what is the D7, Bia?
What is a D7? Who wants to get a D7?
I
So
think you two are going to
anyone-
be doing this all evening, aren't you?
Yeah, we have everything prepared.
Right, okay.
So who can be a D7 applicant? Basically, everyone that receives a steady flow of income, passive income. This is the main difference between now the D7 and the D8, the source of the income. But not only the source, which can be rents, can be social security from pensions, it can be the dividends if you have a company, and of course, the monthly income that you receive from the passive income. It's much lower than compared to the digital nomads. It is compared or based on our minimum wage, which is 760 euros. So if you have that, please come to Portugal. We are waiting for you here.
Excellent. And that's why people called it the retirement visa, didn't they? I think wrongly. It's a euphemism for the D7, isn't it? But it's really a passive income visa in the way that you've described there. And you can understand why people have called it that. But thank you for that part of the requirements. Timeline then, once you start applying the months, the 4 months, the 6 months, the 2 years, the 3 years, all of that stuff and the critical points in that path. Christina or Beatrice, who's going to take that?
So from the beginning,
Yes.
the first thing that you always need to make for everything is the NIF number.
Okay.
The NIF number is a very fast process, of course, if you do with us, which take 1 week to 2 weeks to be obtained. Very simple. Then we go to the worst part, or one of the worst parts of the process, which is the Portuguese bank account. If you come to Portugal on vacation to find your sweet spot here, yes, it can be very simple. Sometimes the accounts go to compliance and everything, but in 1 week to 2 weeks, depending on the place that you go, it can be opened. But if you do it remotely, expect to wait at least 1 month to 2 months to be open the Portuguese bank account.
Right.
Then we go to the visa. The worst part of the visa is definitely to find a rental agreement for at least 1 year. Expect at least 1 month on trying to find some place to live, to negotiate with the landlords, trying to find something really that is reasonable to you. So between the NIF and submit your visa, usually takes 3 months to 4 months. So, and of course, depending on the visa that you are, the Portuguese embassy that you are submitting, which can take 60 days or normally more than that.
And it should take 60 days. That's the law, isn't it? That's the expectation. And as you say, it doesn't always apply. There will, of course, because we're dealing with human beings and there will be differences and volumes of people and so on. So that may vary. And that will be your first contact, will it, with the Portuguese government or a representative thereof at that point?
Yeah. So basically they have 60 days. So they don't specify if it is business days or normal days. But expect always business days, just to be prepared.
Very good.
And don't forget that we in Portugal have a lot of holidays, and that counts.
They are not business days, are they? Unless you're a cafe.
They are not.
Right. Okay. All right. So there is that time to wait, and then you'll be showing up. What else is required then at this meeting? What are the meetings like? If you could give people a sense who are nervous about this first meeting, it might be with VFS, and it might be a consulate. Tell us how that works.
So the VFS basically is an intermediary between you and the Portuguese embassy. So they are just there to confirm that you have all the necessary documents that is described on the checklist. So my recommendation to you is definitely to be as nice as possible, because in the end of the day, they are going to be the ones to send to the Portuguese embassy. If you need anything, cry a little bit. This is always my recommendation to every client of mine if they don't want to accept the documents. But they normally are really nice, because they are not their job to judge or to qualify really your documents, but they have the power to send it to the Portuguese embassy or not.
That's an interesting point. Okay, yes, because there is a checklist. There's the law, isn't there? And there's a little bit of possible interpretation that people might be aware of from what you're saying there.
It is, yeah. Because it really depends. In the end of the day, imagine the FBI criminal records. Supposedly in the United States, if you keep it closed, it can be considered as an apostille. But imagine that the clerk at the VFS says, oh no, right now you only accept the apostille documents from the Portuguese embassies. And even if they don't get a direct order from the Portuguese embassy, they can deny the exception of the documents. And then we need to contact the Portuguese embassy, explain what this meant. But this is all the time that was lost in the meanwhile. That's, of course, if you want to come to Portugal, you want to come as soon as possible, especially to enjoy the summer here.
Of course, yes. All right. So next step then, if that's a successful meeting, what might people expect after that?
After that, they need to send the documents to the Portuguese embassy. Usually you receive an email with the track number. Also, please don't trust the track number from the VFS, because normally it doesn't work. So don't feel stressed, don't feel confused, because completely normal. Then the Portuguese embassy might require some extra documents just to confirm if everything is okay. Don't find it strange, don't find it that they are thinking of denying your visa, because normally that is not the question. They just want to make sure that your documents are real, that you have a real grounds to submit your visa. So don't think too much. And if you need anything else, let us know, send us the email, and we'll clear it out if it is really necessary or not.
Okay. After
60 days, if everything goes well, they send you an email. Please send us the passports for us to stamp your visa.
Excellent. And a little bit more about that process. Then you'll send the passports, and obviously these are precious documents, and they will attach a visa. How is that next stage working, and how soon might people expect that and set foot in Portugal?
Okay, so when you receive your visa, the main thing that you need to always look is the date of when it begins, the visa, and when it expires, because those 4 months are really important, not only for you to travel within Europe, because you cannot go outside of Portugal after that date, and also when you can come in. During those 4 months, you only have 2 entries in Portugal. So please keep this in mind because it's really important. Other thing important on the visa is definitely check your appointments. It's going to be there a link that you can put it online and check when your staff appointment will be, the date, the hour, the place.
Okay.
If there isn't any link in there, don't worry. It can happen. But what you need to do, call every day to the staff to book an appointment for you to get your residency permit.
Okay. All right. And so you're heading to Portugal now with your 4-month visa. Next step of the process, then, you're going to have your meeting with SEF, aren't you? And a similar setting, I suppose. And it was interesting what you said. They're not judging you as a person. That's what immediately we think, isn't it? If we're applying for a visa, this is about a subjective and sort of judgmental session about me. It's about the law, isn't it? And whether people qualify rather than a character analysis.
It is. They don't really care if you say 20 or 30 reasons why you love Portugal, why Portugal is your dream of choice. You need to prove that you really want to come to Portugal by having money. So they only care about the money. So please prove on everything, not only the monthly income, but also the investments, the saving. You should always present everything. Everything is necessary because Portugal loves bureaucracy. Portuguese love documents. So show them everything.
Okay. And but you do have to make a case that you do want to come to Portugal, and it's important to craft that. What's the technical term for that? You have a term, don't you, for the petition, I suppose, the petition of entry?
Yeah, normally we use exposure of motives, basically the translation, or exposição de motivos.
Yes.
Which is basically explaining why do you want to come to Portugal and that you have enough money to live here. And of course, we also put some articles because legally it makes a stronger case.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Anything else that people should be aware of at this stage and of the process?
What I would also recommend you, also the NIF, the Portuguese bank account. The Portuguese bank account should have in there the minimum wage plus 24 months, which is the amount of time that your residency permit is good for. Then the lease agreement for at least 1 year, or if you want to buy a house, it's the way that you prefer.
Yep.
What more?
Insurance.
Travel insurance. That is always a great question.
Check me out.
The travel insurance. There are 3 minimum requirements that you always need to meet. It needs to cover 30K in medical expenses, repatriation, and no deductibles. And initially, and by law, it is for the first 4 months of the visa. However, and right now, there are a lot of Portuguese embassies starting demanding 6 months, 1 year maximum travel insurance. So we always recommend you to request 1 year because, like I said, the VFS can stop you from delivering your documents at that moment because you didn't meet that requirement. That, again, that is not even written on the law, but because they can't. They won't do that.
Okay, excellent stuff. And how is it panning out after that? You have your 4 months. You want your meeting to establish your 2 years. What are your observations about that? I don't know if Christina wants to come in at this point. You're doing a fantastic job, Beatrice. Maybe she doesn't. But so yes, you'll get your validation more often than not. And this is the time to talk about your success rate with these things, I think, as well at EI. Tell us about that.
Well, success rate. Come on. Don't brag. Just be.
Christina's coming in to do that bit.
Yeah, please, Christina, go forward. Talk about my success.
Yeah, so Bia's success is 99%.
Okay, excellent.
So she's top notch. No, the visa approval is always with us. It tends always to be stable at 99%. There is that always a seldom chance that, and especially in those more troublesome countries, you know what I'm talking about, or which I'm talking about. If you don't, I'll pinpoint it in the world later on.
Okay.
There are more difficult. Normally, from those countries, we already know that we are going to have an intention of denial. So, and those are the only instances where we normally fail. But even when failing, we success because we appeal and get the visa out.
Okay, very good. All right. And you don't take on cases that you don't think are going to work in the first place. That's important, isn't it?
If it's not going to work for any reason, we will let our clients know that it is a weak process, or you need to anticipate that this might happen, or that it might be refused because of this. And if so, people are entering the process knowing that it can fail. But normally, and so far, they either say, okay, then I will wait and apply later on when I know I'll have my chances of approval higher, or when they risk it. So far, it has been a success story. I
Great
can't
stuff.
recall of a visa, or rather, I have one single process that I'm thinking about that I got an intention of denial, and we are fighting it as we speak. And to this day, I can't understand how they could deny that visa. It's just so blatantly true that it is a D7 visa, and
I like the feel of you working behind the scenes
yeah,
with people like this. Yes. So you've got your teeth into that one. Okay.
yeah,
I get
definitely.
this is great. The EI team are working behind the scenes and coaching people through the process as well with what they need to do. So 4 months, 2 years, there's another stage, isn't there?
Then you can get a renewal for 3 years.
Yes.
Normally that renewal is made online. So you just need to check some boxes, have a little fun with that. But sometimes they pick somebody to go to the staff just to confirm if everything is okay. So please comply with the rules of staying outside of Portugal during those 2 years, because that can be something that can be a way of denying the renewal of your visa, and you need to start the process all over again. And we don't want to do that.
Oh, to clarify on that then, as in going outside of Portugal, not for too long. There are, yes.
There are rules. So basically for 2 years, you can stay outside of Portugal 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether. So this is the amount of time that you can. But this can open an exception, which is emergencies that happen that we were not predicting, or for professional reasons. This can be something that you can excuse those situations, but I always prefer and advise you to have like an Excel or Word document saying how much time did you went, to where, why, just to keep track, for them to know that you're really paying attention to your
actions. Paying attention, that you're all over it. That's fantastic. Okay, so I think there, and then of course 5 years comes and you can naturalize, can't you? You can go for citizenship at that point.
First is permanent residency, then you apply for citizenship, but expect to wait at least 2 years to acquire your citizenship. So it's not a fast process at all.
Forgive me. Okay, so the first 5 years you're on visas, aren't you? And then PR comes after that 5 years, and then from PR, permanent residency comes. Thank you for clarifying that. Comes the chance for citizenship, which you don't have to take, but you can. I think Christina is unmuted, I think, to add something to that, I believe.
I was going to add that don't forget, to get permanent residency or citizenship, you need to pass an A2 test.
Oh, yes.
Okay. A2 is very simple Portuguese. So it should be, hello, my name is, these are my hobbies. I'd like a glass of water. Where's the lube? Whatever you want to call it. So straight conversational Portuguese. If you don't pass the A2 test, don't worry. You don't need to get the permanent residency or citizenship. You can just keep on renewing the temporary residency. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So there we have I would say, the timelines and the anatomy in theory of the D7. What changes just recently and pressure points can you reveal for us then, given that this is the update on that process this evening?
So the major thing is regarding definitely the travel insurance, the amount of time that they require. The lease agreement for 1 year, that is not something that is really new, but it's always important to highlight that. Terms of responsibility, because you always need to prove of accommodation here in Portugal, which can be done in 3 ways: by buying a house, by having a lease agreement for at least 1 year, or the term of responsibility. Please make sure that your sponsor or has a house of their own in Portugal, or if not, to ask their landlord to sign an agreement saying that, okay, I allow him to be here, or for you to be your sponsor in my house.
Okay.
Because they are now start to argue about those things, so be prepared.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other updates then before we get into the questions?
They are the practical thing about the D7. It's taking more time than usual in the Portuguese embassies, especially compared to digital nomad visas. But the process maintains practically the same. Do you remember anything else, Christina?
Well, there are a few informations that I would like to give before we go into the questions. For instance, with bank accounts, we are seeing a lot of banks now requesting that within the first 30 days of opening up the bank account, either in person or remotely, for the simple fact that you are not a European Union resident or even a legal resident in Portugal yet, they will ask you to deposit a minimum amount of 7,500 euros or so, okay, within the first 30 days. This, they say that is a way for them to make sure that you are going to use that account and you are not just using it to open it and get the visa and then forget about it, which is, well, weird because it's a very high amount, but they base that off the minimum wage and they feel like you need to have this for the visa. So you need to get it in the account within the first month or we'll shut it down. Okay, some banks will ask for less, other banks will probably ask for more. It depends on the situation from individual to individual. Another thing that we would like to call your attention to is, given the current situation of the appointments with the SCF or whatever it's going to be called, for family reunification specifically, forget about it. Don't apply for a visa for a main applicant and then try to do the family reunification process here in Portugal. Because if things are going to keep on going this way until 2025, we might continue to see that there are no available appointments for family reunification until then.
Okay.
Hopefully not, but it might be the case. So our government is implemented also a new type of visa, which has the most boring name of a visa, which is called residency visa to escort someone with a residency visa. So if you have a family member that you want to bring with Portugal with you on a visa, you get that, okay? And you apply simultaneously at the same time. Requirements are pretty much the same and it will be based off of the main applicant, but it is a complete separate visa application process and that person will only be granted with the visa if the main applicant will get it.
Okay, so that could almost be called the unification rather than a reunification.
Unification visa. Thank you. I'll use that.
My pleasure. You're very welcome. Okay.
I'll use that.
Yes, do. It's not so much as a mouthful as the one you said, which I can't remember.
It's the legal term. It's what it's called.
Okay.
Residency visa to escort someone with a residency visa.
Yeah, and I thought D7 was fairly sort of inoffensive. That's not the most exciting name, is it? But anyway,
yeah,
okay. We know and love the D7. Any other updates then, Christina? Because this has been really useful information, especially that last part there. Oh, you're muted.
full information. Well,
Okay.
you probably need to know that, for instance, with the rental agreements right now, most of the landlords is starting to see a trend of people coming in, getting a 1-year rental agreement, but getting out at 6 months.
Yeah.
So what they are trying to do now is pin you to a 3-year rental agreement to make sure you stay for a full year. Any landlord, they don't want to be looking for new tenants every 6 months.
Right. Okay,
right. So they are trying to do that now.
That's more of a housing culture thing in the private sector. That's not to do with the government, is it?
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think that I have any other notices for now.
Other things
So
may
we may
in the questions. Yeah, I think other things may be drawn out in the questions here. Thank you both so much for what you've told us so far. Really good. Yes, Sean, absolutely right. It's a round of applause coming from the audience tonight. Really good update there. Thank you very much. And if some people are thinking, I am never going to remember all of that, I am really stressed and confused now, what's the best thing to do? Get in touch with EI, of course, who will handle the process for you. Make the call. All the numbers, details are on Christina's screen, as you can see there. And of course, premium members of Expats Portugal get a discount on those services as well. So yeah, if you want to make this a whole lot easier, that's the thing to do, isn't it? But that is, the process as we've outlined it and laid it out there is what you're up against to move to Portugal on the D7 visa. So let's get into some of the questions now. We'll do about 15 or 20 minutes of these, and there'll be a chance to ask more personal questions after we've ended the recording if you prefer to do that. So Barack says, this is an observation rather than a question. When we come and try to get our D7 in 2026, they will be experts at the new processes and have all of the bugs worked out at the newly named APMA. Well, we'll see about that, Barack. Okay. Caroline, hello, everyone. I've got my residence permit for 2 years. How is the renewal process at that point? Thank you. Great question, Caroline. What should I do to renew it? What are the steps?
Well, the first step should be quite simple. You just log into your SEF account, or which is currently the SEF account. If you don't have one, you create one, and you try to do the renewal online. You can only do this about a month before your current residency permit expires. So don't worry if you're trying to do this way beforehand and you see, oh no, it doesn't allow me to renew. It's pretty normal. You will probably only be able to do that renewal process online just about a month before. If by then you try it and you don't succeed, contact us. We'll help you.
There you go for you, Caroline. And I'm a bit embarrassed now because Anissa Burnley is asking, what does SEF stand for? And I really dislike it when people use acronyms and they don't explain them. And I'm totally guilty of that tonight. Let me try this, if I may. Serviço de Estrangeiros e Fronteiras. Would you? Okay, thank you for that. So that's what SEF stands for. And that's why everybody calls it SEF. Okay, during today's Porto meeting of Expats Portugal, Nuno gets about, this is from him, it emerges some doubt about that once people get the residency card, people are or aren't allowed to travel abroad for the following 6 months, or if the 6 month stay in a role is along each year. Okay, so the 6 month, 8 month thing, I think we need a further clarification of that. And maybe you want to roll into this part and that question there. The problem some people are having where they are not getting the documents they need to travel and finding themselves a little bit compromised and wondering whether to come in and out or move around the Schengen. Sorry if that's a bit complicated, but I think you get the gist of what I'm asking there.
Okay, so after you go to yourself, you should only travel around Portugal, Europe, or any country in the world, after you get your card, your residency card. Because in the end of the day, if you cannot prove to other countries that you are a legal resident here, although Portuguese embassies and Portuguese authorities might recognize it, the others may not.
Yes.
Regarding the 6 months, the 6 months is not per year, but per residency permit. So for 2 years, you can stay outside of the Portugal 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
And again, yeah, basically that's it. So
all right,
this
that's
is
great.
the point.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Nuno. I hope you had a great time at the Expats Portugal meetup in Porto today. Fantastic. And yes, don't be offended, girls, that you weren't invited up there. You're busy anyway in the capital. Okay. Dottie, great question. Oh, and a quick thank you from John. John saying, thank you, Christina and Beatrice, for helping us with our D7. So some happy clients there. Dottie asks, we got our consular appointment for June the 21st in San Francisco and plan to wait here until the approval comes so we don't have to fly back and give them our passports. Interesting strategy. Any danger, do you think, that we could wait out the whole 4 months without getting the visa? Our lease starts on June the 1st, so we'll be wasting rent too. There's two questions in there, really, isn't there? There's a thing about, when to get the lease and will you be wasting rent? Let's come back to that. Do you approve of that strategy there? Would you like me to read it again, or did you get that?
No, I got it.
All right.
So pretty much there is danger because we simply don't know if your process is going to fall in the hands of a clerk that is fast analyzing it, or if it's going to fall in the hands of someone that is just way too much backlogged. We see processes being approved within a month, and then we see processes being approved within 4 months. And even if they were done pretty much at the same time or in the same week, there is no explanation. It could be a simple process and take 4 months. It could be a very complex process with investments and showing the income, and it still could take just a month. There is no explanation whatsoever, but only that maybe the clerk that gets your process to analyze it is either too backlogged with work, or they are simply more fast when analyzing the processes. So there is a risk that you could be waiting for your visas, the whole 4 months of the visa, the whole well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you
Break
will
your
be
visa,
stuck
basically.
without your passports, because you can try to get them back, but it's hard.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you, I guess what Dottie's doing is waiting right until the end of the 4-month visa. They're not expecting to stay after that, which would be a problem, of course, as well. The thing about critical timing on leases then, and the fact that some people are getting leases and they don't even live in the place because the timing's not right. There's not a lot that can be done about that, is there?
No, the only thing that you can do is just spend that extra money. You come to Portugal as a tourist, wait out your process while your visa is under analysis here in Portugal as a tourist, because you have 90 days as a tourist, and just enjoy that time here in your new apartment that you are paying for. And then when you get the good news, you just fly back to pick it up, because you'll always need to fly back to pick it up. So it's just a matter of what will be more expensive, 2 flights or the rents that I'm wasting on an unused apartment. And then you try to think it out, because it will be obviously an added cost, because it's not only the rents, but the flights.
Yeah.
But at least you'll be using it.
Yes.
It depends from person to person.
It's a tricky one, and it is painful in the wallet. Go on, Beatrice.
And please don't forget that you have 90 days to go to return to the United States to send your passport to the Portuguese embassy. So that is
United States and wherever country you're from.
Yes, exactly. Sorry. So you have time. So don't rush it. You have time.
Okay, thank you very much. Warren, good evening to you. Is the 1,800 euros Portuguese bank deposit per person or per couple? Thank you. Depends, doesn't it, on what you're and how you're approaching this?
It is. Yeah, normally, I'll always recommend you to be 18 plus 2. Plus 2 for 2 people. However, if it is a joint bank account, you can have 18, put one statement on one and put the other statement on the other.
Oh, okay.
Applications process.
But it's 18 for the couple.
Yeah, 18 for the couple.
Yeah.
But if you want to be extra safe, you can double the 18 for 36,000.
Yes. Yeah, just transfer a bit more over. Okay. And remember to use Spartan FX for that, everybody. With the T7, if we choose to show a bank account balance versus passive income, what is the amount needed for, a similar question for husband and wife. Is it 760 times 12 plus 380 times 12 or times 24? At that point, I'm confused. Could you help? That's from Marcia.
Well, Marcia, the thing is, do you mean that you only want to show the bank account to apply, or are you showing passive income plus the bank account? Because that makes a difference in the equation. However, you always need to show income wherever it is providing from. If it is an investment giving out dividends or interest or a pension or rentals that you might have, you always need to show income. Just showing savings, it's a very high risk. We have seen processes being denied because of it. So always show income, even if you have to set up an annuity on your investment to show that, yes, you are generating that income. And when talking about income, for the D7, the minimum is going to be 760 euros per month. And if you have that second applicant, it will be the 380 euros. Yes.
Good. Marcia, if you need more clarification on that, wait until we end the recording. About 5 or 10 minutes time, and then you can get further clarification on that. And thank you for that question. And thank you for your answer there, Christina and Beatrice. Okay, Caroline, I think we dealt with your question, the 2-year permit, the residency for 2 years. But interestingly, you are now calling it the Actividade Altamente Qualificada, which is a bit of vocabulary that people might want to write down so they know what they're dealing with there. Great question from Denise. Can the passive income required come from investments in Portugal, or must they be from sources outside of Portugal? Does it matter where the money is coming from or in which country the activity is based?
I would recommend being outside of Portugal.
Yeah.
Sorry, being in or out? What was that?
I would recommend it to be outside of Portugal.
For what reason? Taxation point of view?
For everything, because you want to fixate your residency because you want to move from one country to another.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you can create an investment portfolio in Portugal, but I believe that it should be something extra and after you
Yes.
acquire your residence rather than before.
Yes, because unless you've got a really good working knowledge of toing and froing from Portugal, it's going to be easier, presumably, to set up passive income investments in the country of your origin or a country you know elsewhere. Very good. Ray, how do I get a D7 appointment in the UK? Good question. VFS website constantly says no appointments available. So you can't even get started. What's happening here?
The UK is just so backed up with, apparently people are fleeing from the UK. I don't know if you heard.
I did hear
no,
that.
but
Can't think
the
why.
appointments, I don't know, but the appointments in the UK, pretty much they open on a month-to-month basis. So pretty much normally around the end of the month, beginning of the month, they will open up their schedule, but the appointments will fly out like that.
Yes.
Okay, so you need to be attentive, always on top of that, and try to see if you get a slot.
Or have the professionals do it on your behalf. So Ray, just keep trying there. They do come available, and that is a very frustrating position to be in. Sean, is it important that financial accounts that show income are joint accounts for married couples immigrating together? Yeah, joint accounts, single accounts. What's the best way to play that?
It's really the way that you prefer. If you prefer to have a joint account, you can. If you prefer to have separate accounts, you need to have at least 18 in each of the accounts. So
okay,
it's a way of choice.
All right, that's good.
Even if they are talking about the accounts that they already have, they don't, if they are already individual accounts, they don't need to join them, because the simple fact that they are married will make it show that what is hers and vice versa, or, you know.
What is theirs is theirs. And
Exactly.
thank you for that clarification there, because, one less job to do, and there are a lot of jobs to do in this process. Can we open our bank account while on vacation this fall ahead of our application? I think you might recommend that. It's a good time to open a bank account, isn't it, while you're over on a scouting trip or a holiday?
It is, but please remember that you always need to have a NIF number first. So that is always the first step for everything.
Yes, it is, isn't it? And for that, they might do that through you remotely, or come and. I mean, you do accept clients into the office, don't you? Meet with people, so that's another opportunity there, isn't it? Is to have the early meeting with you on arrival in the scouting or touring trip.
Yeah, we always love to receive you here in the office, and you are more than welcome. If you warn us in advance, we can go with you to the bank to meet you the right people to guide you through the process.
Okay. Thank you for that. Connie, great question this. I've not heard this one before. Question for EI. Can account numbers be blacked out when submitting financial statements to consulates as part of D7 application? Now, we haven't really talked about this, but I guess this is an important security question. So Connie presumably is wanting to obscure the numbers for security purposes, but would that go down badly? Redacted documents.
At least have the 3 last numbers, just for them to make sure that you are not creating number of accounts that are the same, but just in different months.
Downloaded accounts from the internet. Yes. Okay, you're right. Fair enough. All right. Good question, Connie. If you want further clarification on that, do check with us in a few moments when we end the recording. Gail, is it possible to then cancel the remainder of the travel insurance policy once you have the CEF appointment, as the extra months would not be needed? Another saving possibly there. Is that a good idea?
Well, it is possible. We do know that there are policies that work like that. I don't know if Nuno can help with that, and if the policies that he can provide can be eventually canceled and refunded. Because yes, there are consulates that are demanding for a full 12-year, oh my God, I'm sorry, 12-month travel insurance. And yes, you don't need a 12-month travel insurance, but I don't know. Some companies will allow you to cancel and get you a refund. Some won't.
He's all over it in the chat I've just seen. Yeah, Nunu's responded there, and we have more time to do that in just a moment. I'm gonna finish with this great question from Jose. We are 5 years out from retirement. What can we start doing now to streamline the process, and when should we actually begin? That's a good question, isn't it? To conclude this segment with, who wants that?
Well, I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it, Jose, and I'll tell you why. If your plan is to retire and come to Portugal, then only begin the process about a year out. Okay. If you have the possibility of working remotely until you reach your retirement age, apply for the Digital Nomad Visa if that's a possibility for you. You work 5 years in Portugal and then you enjoy your retirement here as a permanent resident. What about that?
I think just they wouldn't have been expecting that answer, but I like it. I like it a lot. Very good. So that's what you can do to streamline not just the process, but your life by the sound of it, Jose, with Christina's solution there. Beatrice, would you like to add anything in conclusion?
Please remember, every case is a case. Always try to prove yourself as much as possible. Add every proof that you think that is necessary to add a stronger case. Because although that you know your life pretty fairly, others that are reading and seeing the documents are seeing for the first time. So make the job easier for everyone. And if you want really the job to be easier, contact us.
I think that's
one.
Wonderful. Yes, definitely contact EI. And I think that comes from your legal mind there. And I would like to extend that to say that we have talked in theory and in principle here about how the processes work. There are no guarantees. We're just being as educational and informative as possible here. And as I think you were saying there at the beginning of your comments, Beatrice, every case is individual and subjective and open to all sorts of curveballs and plot twists and those sorts of things, but who better to help you with those than EI? So thank you very much. Great session, Cristina Amaral and Beatriz Ribeiro from EI. And yes, quite right. Round of applause there. And we'll be talking to Gilda, I think, in the Dream Team session. So I'll stop the recording right there.